and she's obviously she's an inspirational woman to look up to. You know, it's a wonderful family.
Hey, you guys, listen closely because this is the kind of royalty that makes the palace walls shake. So, in a super private corner of the palace, where you think nothing ever happens, something was found. And not just something, but a hidden gift from Princess Diana. Yes, you heard that right. Diana left a secret present, and it was meant for Catherine's daughter, Princess Charlotte. And wait till you hear this. When Queen Camilla found out, she literally burst into tears, like real tears. Was she sad, jealous, or was there something even deeper happening? Stick with me because what Diana left behind was more than just a trinket. It was a powerful message. A message that cracked open old memories, unspoken pain, and some serious royal tension. Let's rewind a bit. So picture this. It was just a regular, calm morning at Kensington Palace. The sun was shining, the palace was quiet, peaceful, nothing seemed out of the ordinary. Princess Catherine, still recovering from her health struggles, decided to take a little stroll down memory lane. She went into this tucked away part of the palace, filled with keepsakes, personal stuff, precious little things from before she became royalty. Among these items were treasures that had belonged to none other than Diana herself. Things the public never even knew existed. Things that had been kept safe, tucked away, maybe even forgotten. And while looking through them, Catherine noticed an old, worn-out jewelry box. You could tell it hadn't been touched in ages. She opened it slowly, probably expecting some dusty old brooch or earring inside. But no, what she found was enough to stop her heart. Inside was a letter. And not just any letter, this was in Diana's handwriting. That elegant, flowing script written in light blue ink. On the front, the words read, "For my future granddaughter." Let that sink in. Catherine stared at the note, breath caught in her throat. With trembling fingers, she opened it. Inside were words filled with so much emotion and warmth, they hit like a wave. It was a heartfelt message penned by Diana herself, meant for the granddaughter she'd never lived to meet. She spoke about her dreams, her worries, and hopes for this little girl's future. Oh. And then, one line just stood out like a lightning bolt. "I wish for you to have the freedom to be more than just a princess." Goosebumps. Catherine couldn't hold back. Her hands were shaking. Tears welled up in her eyes. Because this wasn't just a note. It was Diana speaking from beyond. A woman who had felt caged. Who now, even in death, was reaching out to say, "Be free." That moment changed Catherine. She wasn't just a royal anymore. Not just a mother or a future queen. In that moment, she became something else. A bridge between Diana, who was taken too soon, and Charlotte, who was just beginning her journey. But hold up, there's more. Beneath the velvet lining in that box, something sparkled. Catherine pulled the fabric back and gasped. A brooch. But not just any brooch. This piece was stunning. A deep blue sapphire, glowing with this ethereal light, surrounded by vintage diamonds. It looked ancient. Regal, alive. The craziest part? Palace historians had always believed this brooch was lost, gone forever. Some thought it was destroyed in a fire. Others whispered it had been stolen during the chaos of Diana's later years. But no, it was here, safe, hidden. Turns out this jaw-dropping piece originally belonged to Diana's grandmother, Lady Cynthia Spencer. And unlike the showy royal jewelry meant for big events, this brooch had a different vibe. It was delicate, personal, almost like it was waiting for someone specific. Rumors swirled inside palace walls that Diana had this brooch custom-made during one of the darkest times in her life. A symbol. A whisper of hope, something not for her sons, but for a granddaughter she could only imagine. And now it was finally found. That brooch, it's not being locked away anymore. It's in the royal vault, protected 24/7, waiting for one incredible moment. You guessed it. It'll be officially gifted to Princess Charlotte on her 18th birthday. But don't think this is just about jewelry. No way. This brooch is a symbol, a piece of Diana's soul, connecting past to future. On that day, it won't be just some fancy birthday bash. It'll be a moment drenched in meaning, in legacy, in everything Diana ever wanted for the women of the royal family. It's not about riches. It's about love, about the strength to stand tall, about the freedom to be more. And Catherine, she felt every single ounce of that weight, that love, that responsibility. But what was life like for Diana inside those palace walls? Why did she feel so trapped that she left messages for someone she'd never meet? Oh honey, the real story is just getting started. So now we know Diana left a love letter and a priceless heirloom for a granddaughter she never met. But the why behind it all? It goes way deeper than anyone expected. It's not just a gift, it's a cry from the past. A woman who felt silenced, trapped, and desperate to be heard. Let's talk about Diana and her life behind palace doors, because if you thought it was all ball gowns and tiaras, think again. Diana's journey with the royal family was a roller coaster, glamorous on the outside, but full of emotional chaos behind closed doors. When Queen Elizabeth first met Diana, she thought the young, shy aristocrat would be perfect royal material. She ticked all the boxes, well-bred, sweet, innocent, but the Queen underestimated something huge: Diana's emotions, her heart. But here's what most people don't know. Diana wasn't completely alone. One of her unexpected allies, Prince Philip, Charles's father, he actually tried to help Diana when things got really bad. He wrote her heartfelt letters in 1992, trying to guide her through the chaos. And even though he admitted he wasn't great at giving marriage advice, she was grateful. She even signed her replies with warm words, but that support didn't last forever. Later on, Philip turned cold. He started writing her critical letters, focusing more on the royal family's reputation than Diana's pain. And that was the final blow. Diana felt betrayed again, this time by someone she thought she could trust. And then there's Camilla. Ooh, Camilla. She was always in the background, wasn't she? Diana once thought she was just an old friend of Charles, but after the engagement, Charles finally admitted he had been involved with her. That's when Diana's suspicions exploded. Camilla went from being just a name to the other woman. And don't even get us started on that bracelet. Yes, that one. The one engraved with secret nicknames. That wasn't just a trinket. It was a symbol of everything Diana feared. Her worst nightmare, lying in gold. But even in the middle of all this pain, Diana had moments of happiness. One of them was her friendship with Sarah Ferguson. Yes, Fergie. The two were actually distant cousins and had known each other since childhood. Diana even set her up with Prince Andrew. They had their goofy moments, their ski trips, their giggles. But of course, the press had to ruin it. They pitted the women against each other, turning friendship into a tabloid rivalry. And when Sarah mentioned in her autobiography that she got warts from borrowing Diana's shoes, that was it. Diana cut her off. They hadn't spoken for a whole year before Diana passed. And let's not forget Diana's bond with her sons. William and Harry were everything to her. She wanted them to have a real life, not just a royal one. She took them to McDonald's, rode public buses, and even waited in line at amusement parks. He wanted them to feel human, to be grounded, not palace robots. William once said that his mom taught him to live freely, to embrace the world outside the palace walls. Harry, too, remembers her hugs, her playful spirit. She made life feel real. But when Diana died suddenly in 1997, William was only 15 and Harry just 12. The pain? It never left them. Harry says he still craves her hugs. So, is it really surprising that Diana left behind a message, that she wanted to give something to the next girl in line, that she wanted Charlotte to have a life full of choice, not just duty? Of course she did, but let's talk about the ones who didn't appreciate Diana's fire. Princess Anne, totally different from Diana. Anne was no nonsense, nature-loving, quiet. Diana was glamour, glitter, and bold emotions. Anne saw her as overly emotional. They didn't get along, not even a little. Princess Margaret, at first she adored Diana. She knew what it was like to be under the spotlight. But after that BBC interview, you know, the one where Diana said there were 3 of us in this marriage, Margaret was done. She cut off all contact, burned Diana's letters, and at the funeral, didn't even bow her head. Ouch. And the Queen Mother? Oh, don't let the sweet grandma vibes fool you. She was friends with Diana's own grandmother. Thought the whole marriage was a good idea at first. But as things soured, she stood with Charles. Diana, she felt totally abandoned. Now, Princess Michael of Kent? Just no. Diana couldn't stand her. She thought she was snobbish, cold, even offensive. Princess Michael once allegedly told black guests to go back to their colonies, and she named 2 black sheep after Venus and Serena Williams. I mean, who does that? Diana called her the U-boat commander. That says everything. So yes, Diana lived in a palace, but her life was filled with betrayal, cold shoulders, and constant pressure to be someone she wasn't. And even with all of that, she managed to stay real, honest, kind, brave. That's why Catherine's discovery of that letter was like Diana reaching out from beyond the veil. And it hit Catherine hard. She locked the door. She sat there alone, tears in her eyes, clutching that letter. Because this wasn't a royal duty. It was personal. It was intimate. It was from one woman to another, from a former princess to a future queen. That moment didn't just shake Catherine emotionally. It changed her. She started writing again. Not memos or speeches, but thoughts. Feelings. She picked up a journal she hadn't touched in ages and wrote something for Charlotte. It wasn't just a reply to Diana's letter. It was a continuation, a promise. 3 women, 3 generations, one shared thread of love, strength, and resilience. Diana may be gone, but her voice, her spirit, her message, oh, it's very much still here. But not everyone was happy about that. In fact, one particular queen couldn't stand it. Queen Camilla. And what she did next? Well, you're going to want to hear this. So we already know that Catherine found the letter. She found the brooch. She cried. She changed. She started writing to Charlotte. A beautiful, raw, life-altering moment for her and the future of the monarchy. But for one woman, it was an earthquake. Queen Camilla. The second Camilla found out about the letter Diana had written, the one Catherine discovered and couldn't stop crying over, something in her snapped. Not just a flicker of surprise, not even jealousy. What happened was so intense, palace insiders described it as an emotional eruption. This wasn't just some dusty brooch from the past. This was Diana, back and center stage again. People say that the moment the news reached Camilla, she stormed into a private meeting with King Charles. Furious, pale, shaking, she wasn't holding back. There was no good morning, darling, or polite royal small talk. Just one question, cold, sharp, and loaded with venom. Why wasn't this destroyed? That's it. That was her first reaction. Destroyed. Not protected, not honored, not even questioned. Destroyed. And that tells you everything you need to know. Camilla didn't care about the jewels or the sentimental value. This wasn't about a piece of sapphire or pretty cursive handwriting. It was about the ghost of Diana returning at the worst possible moment. For Camilla, this was supposed to be her time, her era, her reign. She had fought to get here through years of whispers, insults, being branded the other woman, the home wrecker. She survived the PR storm. She wore the crown, but deep down, she knew she'd never have the crown that truly mattered, the people's hearts. And just as she thought maybe the world had finally moved on from Diana, boom, a letter, a brooch, a story so full of love and legacy that the press went wild. Photos of Catherine with tears in her eyes. Headlines praising Diana's wisdom. People crying, reposting, remembering. And guess who wasn't mentioned? Camilla. This wasn't a press cycle, this was a reckoning. According to palace staff, Camilla didn't sleep that night. She stayed up making calls, demanding an internal investigation. She wanted every item tied to Diana in the royal archives accounted for. She needed control, not for the public. Oh no, this was all in private. She was terrified. What else had Diana left behind? What other time bombs were hiding in those ancient drawers just waiting to explode? This wasn't just a brooch anymore, this was a battle for public memory. Catherine had become, without trying, the living connection to Diana's legacy. The people saw her and saw Diana. The way she mothered her children, the way she carried herself with dignity, humility, and grace. She didn't beg for attention. She didn't chase headlines. She simply lived. And that made Camilla's blood boil. Because Camilla had spent decades fixing her image. Every smile, every handshake, every public appearance, it was calculated. It was hard work. And now, Catherine was stealing the show effortlessly. And as the world watches her grow as she steps closer to her own path, one thing is certain. The crown may rest on one woman's head, but the people's love, that belongs to Diana. And now to Catherine, and soon to Charlotte. So what do you think? Should the royal family continue honoring Diana's memory like this? Will Princess Charlotte follow tradition or redefine it completely? Let us know in the comments. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more royal deep dives, because behind the palaces and pearls, there's always a story waiting to be told.